provide technical support for multiple GETF programs, and a principal and co-founder of Global Build Collaborative, a small business A&E firm specializing in supporting international small-scale engineering activities. Before we begin, we'd like to show a brief video of the project to give you context of the work we're doing here in Suran. So I'm going to pass it over to Mark to share his screen.
من زەریفەم دانیشتووی سۆرانم دوێنێ لە کاتی گەڕانەوەم لە ڕێگا بینیم بۆڕی ئاوشکا بولی چیە کرد خێرا تەلەفۆنم بۆ جەماعەتی ئاوی سۆران کرد بە خۆشحاڵیەوە جوابیاندامەوە و
ئەو هاوڵاتیانەی کە دڵتەنگ بوون کە دائما سەردانی پارێزگا یاخود قەزا یاخود بەڕێوەبەراتی ئاویان دەکرد ئێستا نەماوە لەبەر ئەوەی کێشەکانیان چارەسەر کراوە بووتە هۆی دڵخۆشی ئێوان و دڵخۆشی ئێمەش.
ئەمڕۆ هاتن چاچیان کردەوە و سوپاسیان دەکەم.
پرۆژەی وادە لە شاری سۆران یەکێکە لە پرۆژە گرنگەکانی سۆران توانرا لە زمانی ئەو پرۆژەیە تۆڕی شەبەکەی شەشگەڕێک چارەسەر بکرێتن بەمەش بە پیرۆچوونی ئاوی ئەو شەشگەڕەکە زۆر کەم کرایەوە و لە هەمان کاتیشدا داهاتی ئاویش زۆر زیاد کرا.
Brian, you're muted.
Sorry. Thanks, Mark. Now just would like to introduce the panelists to provide more information about the activities in Suran. First, we have remarks from Sonia Massis and Dia Al-Hassan, followed up by questions from the breakout group. Then we'll be opening up the questions and discussions from the audience. Please enter any questions into the chat function in the Passable, and we'll read them to the breakout room. So Sonia, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you everyone for attending this session. First of all, my name is Sonia Massis. I'm the Water and Environmental Specialist at the Middle East Bureau within the USAID. Again, thank you for attending this session on building resilient water utilities, where we will be discussing a key theme to promote water security in the face of climate change, increasing urbanization trends, and social and political conflicts. Actually, planning in a rapidly changing environment increases the number of variables that must be considered and puts additional stress on already strained water utilities. Yet, as the case with many challenges, this challenge comes with many opportunities, including the opportunity for growth, the opportunity to preserve our natural resources, actually our limited natural resources, and safeguarding our ecosystems for the future generations. Addressing water security and climate change challenges are one of the top priorities of the United States government, which has a history going back more than 50 years in improving water and sanitation, infrastructure, and strengthening water utilities around the world. Actually, before I dive into the WADA Iraq, I'd like to give a general overview of the mandates that govern our work in the water and climate. The first overarching umbrella under which we are operating is the US government global water strategy. USAID, as the lead government agency in implementing humanitarian and development projects across the world, is committed towards Sustainable Development Goal number 6 and ensuring the universal access to water and sanitation to all, as well as promoting and facilitating the effective management of transboundary water resources. During the past 50 years and under the umbrella of the US Global Water Strategy, USAID assistance had improved water and sanitation services to tens of millions of people around the world. Although this investment is actually strategic and substantial, but it's not enough. Actually, improving the water and sanitation and achieving the ambitious goal of having universal access to water and sanitation can only be achieved and can only become a reality on the ground through the substantial blended resources of private and municipal investment. And actually that leads to the second strategy that mandates our work, is the private sector increasement strategy. USAID strongly believes in the private sector role in humanitarian and development work across the world. And we are committed to working hand in hand with the private sector to deliver humanitarian and assistance programs across all sectors. Actually, the private sector engagement strategy is the core tenet of USAID operating model. The third overarching mandate is combating climate change, which will soon become a strategy. Addressing climate change challenges is one of the top priorities of the current administration, which is committed to building resilient water communities and helping limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Actually, when I was invited to this session, I was drawn in by the title. And if I wanted to describe the WADA Iraq project, I wouldn't have found a better title than the title of this session we are actually having now. But before we dive in, I would like to actually put some of the words that are in the title today into an operationalization concept, because this will help you understand the connection between today's session and WADA Iraq project. Global perspectives, when talking about global perspectives, to me that refers to international best practices that have been proven efficient. Building for sustainability. And water utilities might have been, some might misperceive water utilities as the bodies themselves, but they are far beyond that. They are a combination of institutions, infrastructures, and policies. While resilience means adaptation and mitigation, collective actions means everyone has a responsibility and has a role to play, from water users up to policymakers. At first, you might actually think how you can combine all of these concepts into one project. But as you'll be hearing shortly from me and from Dia, we were able in the WADA Iraq to embrace and operationalize all of these concepts into one simple, practical, user-friendly approach that has been proven efficient and can be replicated in many, if not all, parts of the world. When it comes to water is the source of life, but it's also a source of destruction and death. Climate change effects will be mostly felt through the water, and unsafe water has killed more people than war did. This calls for an action. Therefore, together with the Coca-Cola Foundation, we identified the need to support one of the most underserved areas of the Kurdistan region of Iraq, Suran city, a home to over 260,000 people, whose per capita allocation, as Mark alluded in the teaser earlier, is half of the per capita standard in Iraq, but also water services there are mostly intermittent, unreliable, and unsafe. And we have witnessed this firsthand throughout the course of implementation. We have seen wastewater seeping into the leaky pipes. This water shortage, as the case in many MENA region countries, is primarily attributed to inadequate water management planning, unsustainable water use practices, high percentage of non-revenue water, and on top, limited financial resources. With the aim to improve water utility, the capacity of the water utility, Suran Water Directorate, we actually undertook this project so that the residents of Suran can receive safe, reliable, equitable, and sustainable services. To that extent, the theory of change that we have adopted in this project was based, and is still actually, is based on 3 parallel yet complementary tracks. The first one is to strengthen the water utility, the capacity of the water utility, so that it is able to manage its resources in a climate resilient and sustainable approach. And that relates to my earlier point when I was talking about building for sustainability. So that when we leave the project and the project is actually completed, the utility is self-reliant. To accomplish this, we designed a training program that is tailored to the gaps and needs of the Suran Water Directorate, starting from training them on the concept of district metering areas, then operationalizing the non-revenue water in a participatory approach. And again, this ties into the international best practices that is triggered by the resilience and adaptation to climate change. As a first step, we needed to understand what's the current state. So we started by dividing the city into district metering areas or DMAs, and then performing water audit on every single DMA that was selected. And this was an important step throughout the process because we cannot fix what we don't know. And one might wonder why we're dividing the cities into DMAs. The short answer is that it will make management and monitoring much easier. But there is another reason that is of equal importance. Water accessibility is a function not only of quantity, but of pressure. And we wanted to avoid a state where the people living or the residents of Suran living in high-lying areas, on low-lying areas, are not taking advantage of the topography to gain better access to water than those living in the high-lying areas. In terms of the water audit, and Dia will actually elaborate on that shortly, it was crucial, not only in identifying and quantifying the magnitude of the non-revenue water and its different subcomponents, and also in highlighting where are the illegal connections. We all know the power of numbers. So when the numbers are put in front of the policymakers, it triggers their immediate attention and prompts their immediate action as well. And Suran City, before we actually intervened, Suran City had never ever before quantified in a systematic approach the amount of non-revenue water it had been experiencing. The second goal is to conduct targeted low-cost infrastructure repair. And to ensure that the voices of everyone is heard, we established a service delivery improvement committee that comprised of 17 members. So there's no monopoly in the decision maker. There's the areas that are selected for the repair given the limited budget are not biased. And here we actually also adopted quite a different approach. Usually when it comes to infrastructure, we source it out. We source it out to construction contractors to do that work. In this one, we elected to do it a different way. So what we did, we had the project procure the material and Suran Water Directorate implement the construction work themselves. Through this approach, we actually achieved three main benefits. First, we managed to lower the cost of construction because it's done in-house. Second, we actually, with this approach, we increased the sense of ownership of the Suran Water Directorate to its own resources and their own knowledge of their own resources. And more importantly, is actually, so we managed to build the capacity of Suran Water Directorate to implement high quality work according to international best practices. And this is the sustainability component that we refer to. And this is the best practices we want to leave behind. This is the legacy we want to leave behind after we complete the project. The third track is public awareness. We understand the key role that the residents of Suran can play in promoting water security. That's why we started using social media to encourage residents of Suran to conserve water and act responsibly, not only within their own premises, but along their public means. And you heard it in the video when the lady was talking about reporting on leakage along the network. That's a sense of responsibility we wanted to establish within the community. And that's also ties into another important factor, the collective action. That's the collective action. Everybody needs to act responsibility to ensure that water security is achieved. We cannot talk about accessibility and reliability without talking about water quality. So what we did, we developed a water quality assessment plan at the early beginning of the project and made sure we actually implemented it down the road. We did two types of testing. We did two sequences of testing. The first one was done prior to construction and the second one after construction. And you might wonder, why would you do water testing prior to construction? Basically, we had a limited budget. So we wanted to make sure before investing in any stretch that the water there is actually safe for human consumption. I hope that by this overview, I was able to shed some light on a successful project that actually embraced and implemented several water security concepts. I'll end up by saying that, from my opinion, the key to success in strengthening water utilities for a water-secured and resilient world is finding the right balance between technical capacity, technological advances, and infrastructure, so that one does not outpace the other. Thank you, and over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Sonia. And Sonia, I apologize, I didn't introduce yourself when you first joined on. So as everyone can see, Sonia is a water sanitation infrastructure expert. She has more than 25 years of experience in the design and implementation of water and sanitation programs. Sonia joined the Environmental Science and Technology team at USAID Middle East Bureau in 2019 to provide technical experience in the areas of water, wastewater, environmental science, technology, to the Bureau and its mission partners. She joined USAID, West Bank, and Gaza Mission in 2010 and became the water team lead, overseeing a water portfolio of more than $50 million per year. Sonia also serves as a technical advisor on Israeli-Pakistan water issues for USAID West Bank Gaza. She holds a bachelor degree of science in civil engineering from the University of Jordan. And she's also great to work with if you ever have a water project with USAID. I'm going to turn it over now to Dia. Dia Al-Hassan is an engineer with over 40 years experience as a service delivery advisor and strategic planner, including 20 years experience in the water sector. Dia has prepared a short presentation about our work currently being done in Saran, and he's the in-country project lead for the Saran project. Dia, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for everyone to attending this session. I would like to present to you our experience and our methodology of water tajdid in Soran that it is implementing for the first time in Iraq and get good result from this project. We'll see later. So I will starting with the methodology of water tajdid at the beginning. Next slide, please. Yes, our project have many objectives, as you've seen. The improved strategic plan, water audit, and that is need to implement many workshops to build the capacity for the Soran in water audit, data collection management, prioritize infrastructure upgrade and repair plan, developing or preparation and justification for funding, and the third one, community awareness and engagement. Next one. Yes, we start with the first one. Our methodology contained the assessment, then the water audit process, and then repair implementation, and then awareness. We will explain each one in the next slide. Next slide, please. Yes, for the assessment, it is very important stage for the water audit, and it need to build the it will build the conference with the Soran and the local government, because we'll get a lot of data and information needed. So in the beginning, we need to know the condition of overall the water system in Soran. Then we will divide the DMAs, Soran city, into DMAs based on the criteria that we put it for that. For example, each DMA should have around 500 to 5,000 connections and have the boundary and can isolate it from the other DMAs to be implement the water edit process inside. And we can, after that, get the data and information needed to put the assessment in the right way, and then select the DMA that suffering from the leaks or damage or pipe holes and so on. Next slide, please. After the assessment and decide to take some DMAs in cooperation with the and in coordination with the water directorate, we will reach the very important stage, that is water edit process. It is again the first time they hear this methodology in Iraq, and in the beginning we should forming the team to be build its capacity to know what is the water edit methodology. We did 2 workshops to build this capacity for the team. Then we will have field audit and data collection, house by house, and using a flow meter to measure the flow rate inside the pipeline and the network, and get the amount of water loss in the DMAs. Water quality test that Sonia talked about, it is very important for us before decide to take this DMA. Should take the samples and test it. If we get bad results for the water quality and need more work to fix it based on our budget available, we need to decide this DMA will take it or not. If it is not need a lot of efforts and fund, but if it is okay, we can take this DMA and then calculate the computing the water balance and non-revenue through the program of EWA, then identifying repair and rehabilitation requirement based on the build the capacity of staff in planning to put the plan and the requirement need to repair the DMAs. After that, we will evaluate all the DMAs, all the requirements to be matching with our target in amount of water loss will be saving, and the number of beneficiaries, and based on the fund available. Next slide, please. Yes. Then we focusing in on the awareness. Also in the beginning, we have the assessment, how they using the public awareness, the means, we evaluate the means like the social media or other thing, posters, banners like that, and evaluate this campaign, if it is okay or not, and suggest our suggestion to improve the awareness campaign. Then formatting the team and have workshop to build the capacity. This team, not from the directorate only, but all the directorate and non-government organization will participate in this team to help us to get the wide campaign for the awareness.
I apologize to interrupt, but I'm noticing that we're running low on time. I was wondering if we could, you wouldn't mind, would we be able to skip to the results section so we can make sure we can communicate the good works that was done by your team.
Okay. Thank you. What you see now, we have the result of the phase 1 that implemented already in 7 DMAs. We have served more than 29,000 beneficiaries, and we have actually the physical loss around 324,000 meter cube per year. It is big amount, and in the end, we have 408,000 meter cube with the commercial losses. Next slide, please. Yes, now we have we get the phase 2 to implement in Soran. Phase 1 implemented for 7 DMAs. Phase 2 will implemented at least for 5 DMAs, maybe 6, depend on our fund. And we targeted for 46,000 beneficiaries and saving water for 450,000 meter cube per year. So the total will be 12 DMAs, 75, the total for phase 1 and 2, 75,000 beneficiaries and 7,500 meter cube of water per year. Next. Thank you. Your mic. Your mic.
Thanks, Thea.
Yes.
Noted.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Quickly, we would like to explain and present all the experience and best practice in Soran, but due to the short time, I think the participants get a good idea about what happened in addition to Sonia explanation. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present wider Tajdid in Iraq.
Dia, thank you so much. I just wanted to note also that Dia and his team in phase 2 of the program are presenting their findings in Erbil later this month, and so we're excited to have them discuss further and spread their good work throughout the region. If you have questions after this conference at all, just feel free to email Mark or myself. Our contact information is on the screen. We can also connect you with Sonia and Dia as well. I think we also wanted to open some questions up from the Pathable link. I think the first one, Sonia, I'm not sure if you want to take it, or Dia, but it says the performance metrics you've mentioned so far are averages: average volume delivered per person, and average supply duration, hours per day, days per month. Do you have data on equity, how these average values vary within the city, or how does the service quality vary between the 10th and 90th percent customer percentile, for example? Sonia, would you want to take that, or Dia?
Sure, Brian. And that's an important question because equity is an important part of the equation. We cannot actually ensure accessibility without equity. So for Suran City, and that's exactly why we divided the city into DMAs. Some of the residents still in Suran do not have access to public means because of pressure issues and the leakage along the existing networks and illegal connections which affected the pressure. So it could range to to simply answer your question, it could range from 0 because some of the people do not have access to public means to 150 liter per capita per day. And that's exactly why we divided the city into DMAs. So at the end of the day, when the repairs are done, illegal connections are actually removed from the old system. All the people of that city would receive equitable access to water of around 140 to 150 liter per capita per day, given the current resources.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sonia. Dia, I think this next question would be best for you. It says, thanks for the overview of the project, which sheds light around the main technical aspects, policy priorities, and environmental justice aspects. Can you please explain about the significance of working with local professionals in the local community?
Can you repeat, please?
Sure. Can you please explain, can you please expand around the significance of working with local professionals in the local community?
Local government?
Yeah, so I think I think they want to know how you're working with the Suran Water Directorate, maybe the overall real ministries, and also the local community.
Okay. You mean the relationship with all of them?
Yes.
The assessment. It is very stage to get the data and information needed and analyze this data and information, then develop the assessment report. After that, we sit with the Water Directorate and with the Mayor of Soran and with the technical deputy of Erbil governor. When they hear the results of this assessment that did not developed before, with the numbers and see the water loss in Soran, that suffering not only for the capita, but suffering in hasn't enough water treatment in Soran to protect drinking water and provide to the citizen. When we suggest to them to have to saving these loss water, instead of build the treatment plan due to the short fund and due to the financial crisis in region, we build the good relationship with them. Then we get their support to provide financial for the implementation to Soran Water Directorate. We are provide the repair materials needed, and the implementation did it by Soran water directorate staff. So they need a fund for implement. But when we present and make good relationship with the local government, especially for Erbil province, we get all these fund to implement the projects.
Thanks,
Mark,
Sonia, do you have anything else? Yeah.
Yeah, let me interject here because I think that's an important question. When USAID or any international community step into a country to support, the key issue is building the capacity of the local so that when the project ends, and any project has a lifetime at the end of the day, and it will end, we leave behind the locals who are well trained and well equipped to carry on the legacy of the project on their journey to self-reliance. So on this specific one, the key issue was designing a program that is a training program that is tailored to the local capacity. And one thing actually to applaud the Suran Water Directorate is their willingness and openness to learn, the willingness to change and adapt to new programs. So the minute we actually started introducing the new concept, they were eager to learn more. And the approach that we have also implemented, which luckily, it's one of the benefits of COVID-19. We did most of the work through remote training. So the people who were on the ground were Suran Water Directorate on professionals, and we trained them remotely. But that's one of the advantages of the COVID-19. It's for them, it was learning by doing. So it did not only accelerated the learning curve, but also emphasized the concepts that were delivered through the program. And we're confident now that when the projects ends, they can actually carry it over by themselves.
Thanks, Sonia. Yeah, I thought one really interesting part of the project was, like you mentioned, because of COVID-19, we had to take interesting strategies to keep communication up. But through the use of WhatsApp and Skype, there were people on Dia's team who were just on project sites continuously through our mobile apps and connecting with the Suran Directorate. So I thought it was an interesting display of how, you know, building a relationship with them, with the Water Directorate, and having constant communication really benefited the overall project. I also wanted to open up questions to anyone in the Zoom room. So if you have any questions or if you have any comments, feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand and add any comments as well. I'm not seeing any hands raised, so I'll just go one more question that we had is what are the emerging this is for Sonia. What are the emerging challenges, climate, COVID, that utilities will need to prepare for in the future that you are seeing that USAID is looking at?
Thanks, Brian. I think the water utilities need to be prepared for all kinds of water shocks and health arisen issues, including the outbreak of pandemic and, of course, climate change. That's why when we actually plan for the project, we need to plan for different scenarios and base our decision on different scenarios and the risks associated with each single scenario. And then with the risk matrix in hand, with the different scenarios, decisions can be well informed to prompt action on the ground. But in short, we need to be prepared for all kinds of water shocks, environmental hazards, as well as social and political unrest, which is a key factor in the Middle East region.
Thanks, Sonia. And Dia, just one last question for you. How can data collection and capacity building lead to more effective service delivery?
Building the capacity, right?
Yep, data collection specifically and capacity.
Yes. The data collection, it is very, very, very important in water audit and in planning and decide to repair and rehabilitation in which DMAs. Without accurate data and information or not completed, the planning will be weak and our decision will be weak. So we put in our assessment there is weak in data base in Soran Water Directorate. Then we suggest to build or establish database, electronic database for Soran Water Directorate to be used in planning and in decision making daily that facing many troubles or challenges in the network. And we establish that and maintain and follow up. It is very important to have a good water audit. It is one of mean to get to collect the information and data, and we have also using by using the Floret device and survey the collection of data and information is very important for that, and as well the capacity building for the staff. It is very important. We have mentioned in our assessment that there is a lack in capacity in water audit and strategic planning to develop the service delivery improvement plan, and they got many workshops to build their capacity in these in water audit and strategic plan and in quality control, quality construction control, and in health and safety and environment and water quality assurance plan. So all of these help our project to be on the same page with the Soran Water Directorate and make good relationship and good cooperation with them to follow up the standards and instructions, especially in the water audit process, implementing the water audit process, and in repair and rehabilitation process. By the way, water audit process should be doing for 2 times, one before the repair and then after the repair to get the results and water saving and so on. So we call it follow-up water audit process to compare and see the efficiency of the repair the infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dia. Really appreciate it. I think we're going to close the session now due to time, but we really appreciate everyone joining us. We would like to thank USAID and Coca-Cola Foundation as our founders. We also as our funders, and we also want to thank our sponsors, Chemonics, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, World Vision, and of course UNC for hosting the conference. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone.
Thank you.